Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, let's pull up that screen. All right, A to the I to the T to the X. Very important update. And we've gotten some answers from the weekly up from Steve Reinhardt, so let's get into that. All right, so we did have a very important update from Steve Reinhardt today, and he went into several very important things that I'm going to show you little clips of. That'll summarize it. If you want to watch the whole thing, you're certainly more than welcome to. It's on YouTube. And one of the things that Steve has done, which I applaud and I have from day one, is that he does his own YouTube channel. I think that's really smart. It allows him to control the narrative, which is very important for a CEO. And he's not relying on people on YouTube to put out the word because he doesn't know what word they're going to put out. So he's able to do it himself. And that really suits his personality. It's clear that he enjoys sales and marketing and things like that. So I think that's smart. And I like getting a weekly update from a CEO. You don't see a ton of that. So I find it very helpful as a content creator, but also as somebody looking to invest in this company. And I actually have been an investor in this company a couple of different times. And as you know, this company sold about 85 units over the last few weeks, which was a great month in June. I believe that's what they sold in June, which is the best month they've ever had. So on the revenue side and on the sales side, June was a great month for them. Now, granted, they're a high growth stock and they're losing money. So that's what they need. More than anything, they've got to increase their revenue, increase their sales. And they seem to be doing a pretty good job of that. So let's get into that discussion.
Moving along, we're making time, which is good because there's much to talk about. 1,000. 1,000 is the next number on the list here. I have confidence now with our sales team and sales leadership to issue projections that may include the number 1,000. And this brings us into this new category. You know, I've been clear up until now that we have our foot on the gas in research and development and, you know, that type of growth, building our tech, building our IP. And I've been relentless on saying, people, what about profitability? I'm like, that's not, we gotta get this stuff done. Now we're coming up on that next step in the business cycle where I can say, I have a path to profitability, where I can say, we have stability and productivity in the team. That means we don't have to add to the SG&A like we have over the last couple of years. So more details will be revealed in a press release sometime.
All right, so he's talking about a path to profitability.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah!
All right, so that's real good news. I don't know if they'll be profitable at 1,000 units. I keep thinking it's going to be around 1,500 or 2,000 or maybe even 2,500. But like I said, he's going to know more about that than I do. And the discussion of 1,000 units, I guess is what he's talking about, is obviously a very positive thing. And when you're coming off 85 units in a month, that's pretty strong. He also said during the message that he has a pretty big customer that they're getting ready to announce in probably a couple of weeks. That could be, might be similar to what we just saw. So that would be great for the company as they build this momentum. Now let's talk about the number that he discussed, which is 115,000.
Next number, 115,000. 115,000. There are 115,000 people today that own Aitx stock. That is almost unbelievable. If I didn't see it on the no-bo list, which is 10 megabytes long, I wouldn't believe it. 115,000 people. That's massive. When I got the numbers, I have a small circle of people that advise me on Pubco related issues, right? Issues related to the Pubco. And I was like, hey, how many investors do you think we have, active holding shareholders? Like, the consensus was 5 to 10,000. 115,000, of which the top 20,000 on average hold almost 200,000 shares. What? Our top 75 shareholders, thank you very, very much, guys and girls. Thank you very, very much. Have huge numbers. So it's important to share this because we're widely held, which I think is one of the reasons why we have relative stability on the stock price. Whereas you've seen lots of other stocks, big board and OTC, have wild volatility.
All right, that is a lot of shareholders, a whole bunch. And one of the things that, and he's going to be talking about this here in a minute, as far as raising money. And you know, if you've watched this channel, that's one of the things that I've been hammering on, is that this company, I'm not comfortable with the amount of money they have on the balance sheet given their current path. I know they're going to need more. They're in that high growth phase, and during that phase, you're going to be losing money, especially a company that's fairly young. So he has really learned to appreciate the shareholders that he's got, and he's trying to be super careful with dilution, and he'll discuss that here in a minute. But that's a very difficult path to stay on. You know, you don't want to lean over too much on dilution and make your stockholders mad, but you don't want to underlean and then all of a sudden you miss out on an opportunity to raise money that you need to do rather than taking on bad debt. So I will say this, I'll give him some props for this. He really does appreciate his shareholders. He kind of feels like this about them. Okay, maybe not that much, but he does love his shareholders. I don't think there's any doubt that he does. But look, there's going to have to be some dilution, so let's get into that.
Okay, last number. I hope you're listening. 1 billion. Effective Monday morning, the 14C, there'll be a 14C amended filed before opening, saying that we're increasing the authorized by 1 billion shares. Okay, now, everybody listen, because it's awesome, okay? Number one, somehow we missed it in the filing on Friday. It's so dumb. I don't know how me, 3 other people on the team, like we're all professionals, been doing this for years, working on all these other elements of the 14C, and the one thing that we wanted to include, we didn't include. It's mind-blowing. Anyway, we're fixing that today, filing it Monday morning. Now, what does this mean, right? In the short term, this means nothing. Nothing's going to happen when this thing is filed. Those shares will not be available to sell for at least 30 days, probably 31 days, maybe more, you don't know. Okay, so nothing's going to happen immediately. So just know that. I want you, if you're concerned about this, I want you to check some of the other tickers that you're either in or that you've been in. And the reason is that many tickers have billions and billions of shares available between their authorized and outstanding. A huge ability to sell more of what we eat, of what we kill, so to speak. I have a relationship with you, committed for responsible minimal dilution, which is what we've practiced over the past year, over the past 2 years since we did our debt reconciliation. So check other stocks, you know, because a lot more capacity for dilution on other ones. Anyway.
All right, I do have to say something there. I don't give a crap about other stocks. You know, we're talking about Aitx here. That's the one thing. It's like, well, there's other stocks out there that have tons of room for dilution. Anyway, that's the one where I go, really? Okay, nobody cares. And I've been nice up to now, so don't be getting mad at me because I do call them out on that one. Anyway, let's get back to it. And I found this pretty interesting. I thought this was kind of apropos, and I think he's right on this one.
In hindsight, I should have used that S3 more when our stock price was 3-4 cents. But I'm with you. I think there's 10 cents up ahead, 15 cents and greater, so I'm holding back.
All right. And he's right about that. Actually, I'll show you on the chart. He should have been selling a bunch of shares when it was up over 20 cents. That would have been the time to raise the crap out of some money. But, you know, he was trying not to dilute, and that's that difficult. Here's the thing. When your share price is overpriced, or look, when your company's overpriced like it was at that time up there in the 2025, that's the time to sell the crap out of some shares. You know, that's when the dilution is the least and you can raise the most. But it's tough, you know. Diluting the company's tough because it upsets the shareholders, and he's probably thinking, damn, I didn't want to hurt the momentum. So that's tricky. But let's get into share price and the OTC and all that. All right, and the reason they're needing to raise money is that on their balance sheet, you know, they're sitting there with $4 or $5 million, and I'm sure it's gone down since last time they showed this. So they are needing to raise some money. And the reason being, when you look at their year end, you know, they obviously didn't have a lot of revenue, although that's changing quite quickly. But they're losing a little over $1 million a month. Over the last year, they averaged, you know, about $1.5 million a month, it appears. So they need some money on that balance sheet, or they need more outstanding shares to sell on that S3. Because when you look at their outstanding shares, they're at 4.968, authorized shares of 5 billion. So they're right up against it. So, you know, it's time to do this. And he mentioned that the 14C didn't even mention it. And under disclosures, I didn't see anything in here about raising the authorized shares. And I did go through it, and that's what he was talking about. They forgot to add it, so they'll obviously add it Monday. But I think this was preliminary. Yeah, right here, preliminary. So they'll fix that on Monday. And this stock is sitting at 1.4 cents, and it's just been kind of hanging around there. And if they sold, you know, if they sold every share, which they're obviously not going to do right away, that would raise about $14 million. So that'll give them enough for, I think he said 24 months. He's probably assuming that the sales are going to increase quite a bit. At the current rate, that'd be a year. But like I said, they are increasing their sales, and they just came off their best month. So that's I think that's reasonable. So that answers a very important question that I've had. And he did make an important point. He said he should have sold some more shares when they were up in this area. As you can see, this thing ran all the way up to 25 cents. This has been the time to sell the crap out of some shares. But like I said, he didn't. Yeah, it's kind of tough to do it then. But he wouldn't have any debt. So I'm sure in hindsight he wish he had. So he's going to have an Ask Me Anything tomorrow. I'll try to watch that if I can. I've got a bunch of work to do. So it'll be hit and miss whether I can watch it. But I found that very informative. And that's really the thing I've been wondering, you know, how was he going to raise the money, how much, et cetera. And it sounds like he's going to continue to going down the path of as little dilution as possible, but understand there will be dilution as he sells those shares. That's just part of it. And I think they get 90 cents on a dollar he sells to a company, and then they sell it out as they please. So that answers a very important question. I'm watching this stock very closely. I'm watching the sales, watching the revenues, and I'll be really looking forward to seeing how the sales go over the next month or so. At some point, I may pull the trigger on this stock. Like I said, I've owned it a few times. I currently don't, but I am looking hard at adding a position at some point. You know, it's just hard to say. We're in a terrible market right now for penny stocks. This company's not profitable. It's got a ways to go to get to profitability, and they're going to be diluting some. As somebody who's not invested currently, I'd rather he did it in one fell swoop, and then I could come in and buy, as opposed to doing it this way. But this might be better for the shareholders that are already in the Aitx, and I can understand that totally. All right, folks, and that's an Aitx update. I thought this was an important update to go through that, and I'll try to watch that Ask Me Anything. If not, I'll just watch it later and see what people ask. I'm sure he's going to have a million questions about the outstanding shares and how they plan on doing that, and you know he'll only be able to say so much. But anyway, this was a good weekend update. It really kind of shed some light on a lot of things. And if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Lets me know to continue to cover Aitx. And if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. I'd certainly appreciate it. And we'll see you next time on Mr. Frugal Investor.